everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today we are going to be doing my June reading wrap-up. Alright, so before I forget, I did forget to do a kind of TBR wrap-up from my game in June to tell you how I did. So I actually have them written down in my reading journal. The prompts and everything, thankfully. I do remember to write down my prompts now. But the first one was to read a book that was a romance. And for that one, I read Beyond the Tides by Liz Johnson, and I did read it. The next one was a friend pick, and my mom picked it. I was going to read The Swallow's Flight by Hilary McKay, and unfortunately, I did not get to that one because I had to try to get the first book at the library because I didn't know that was a sequel. And it only came in like a few days ago, and I still had some books to finish, so unfortunately did not get to that one. Next one was TBR Star Jar, and for that one, I randomly, do I still have the paper? I don't think I still have the paper with the title, but it was Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, which was a reread for me, and I did get to that one just like literally an hour before midnight last night. Next prompt was to read a one-word title, and for that one I was going to read Cress by Marissa Mayer, and I did read that one. And then the next one was another friend pick, and I did a Facebook group poll, and what came up was the Last Apothecary by Sarah Penner, and I actually ended up DNFing that one. I'll explain later. And then the last prompt was a character you would bring on a trip, and for that one I read Winter by Marissa Mayer, and I did finish that. I finished 2 books that were like over 500 pages. I'm so happy. I don't normally do that. Okay, so I did end up spending 3 of my shell tokens this month. So I took out 3 and added them back into my little stash here. But I bought 3 books this month just recently, and it was $3. So I also bought books on vacation, but I didn't count that against myself because it was vacation. So anyways, so DNFs don't count. But I finished 1, 2, 3. I finished 4 books. So 4 tokens will go in my little green jar. I have 1 left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1 I was not able to get to. So 1 token will go into my donation jar, which there are a few in there. So 1. There we go. So those are my tokens. So those are all done. Okay. Now to the books, and they're not by star rating because most of these books I don't have physically, so I had to write them all down in my reading journal. There we go. Quick overview. Okay, so these aren't in any order. I do have my star ratings in here, so it does help me. So let's just start off with the first one, which was Meet Me in the Margins by Melissa Ferguson. So this is actually my Christian Book Club's pick from last month in May, but I didn't get to it until like the first couple days of June, but our discussion was in June, so I was fine with that. So I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It is published by Thomas Nelson, I believe, so it was a clean read, but there really wasn't any faith content in it. So it's just a nice, clean romance read. So it's about a girl who works in a book publishing company, and she works in kind of a company that does nonfiction and kind of like, if I'm being honest, kind of more boring reads. At least that's what they kind of say in here, like gardening books. Not necessarily boring, it's just something that you have to have a specific audience for. That's the word. That's the phrase I wanted to use. So she works there, but she is secretly writing a romance novel, and she finds kind of a secret room in the publishing building, and she puts her manuscript there, but she comes back and she finds a whole bunch of written notes on it saying, you need to fix this, this needs work. And she's like, who dares to put notes on my manuscript? But then that person ends up helping her, and they secretly write notes back and forth. And it's a cute romance. We don't know, well, I mean, I figured it out pretty quickly. I'm sure most readers would, but she doesn't realize who's writing the notes until almost the very end of the book. So it's a really cute read. It was a lot of fun. Okay, the next one is The Apostle's Sister by Angela Hunt. And I have done a whole review about this. I will try to link it down below in the description box for you if you want to check out the whole review. But I gave it 5 stars. I do really enjoy biblical fiction, and this one was really good. and I didn't pick up on it until later on in the book that it was about Paul, before he became Paul, when he was Saul and persecuting Christians, and it is about his sister and nephew as well. So it was really interesting. I liked kind of seeing a story that we really don't know anything about the Bible, but it's kind of interesting to see her research into Paul's life. And I didn't even know that, yeah, he has a sister and a nephew. They're only mentioned like once in the Bible, but it was really cool. It was interesting to read, so I definitely like that one. Next up, I did another review for as well, which was Where the Road Bends by Rachel Fordham. 5 stars, a new favorite of all time. Loved it. I won't go too much into it because you've heard me talk about it, but it was really, really good. I loved it. It's about a girl who, I remember his name, Quincy, but she finds Quincy on her land and he's injured, so she takes him in, and even though she's engaged to someone else to save her land, she takes him in and they start talking and chatting, but then he decides to leave and they don't see each other again for like over 2 years, and she makes him promise to change his life. And so he does. He goes, he changes his life, and he wants to try to find her again, but she's completely gone off of her land and he needs to find her. So it's a really great kind of redemption story. If you like Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, you would definitely like this book. I loved it. I loved it more than Redeeming Love, if I'm being honest. I loved this book so much. Okay, next one. I read the first book in a very long series. I think it has like 12 or 13 books. I'd like to read more, but it was on Kindle Unlimited, and I don't have that anymore. I just had like a free month, and I got to read it. So it's called Secrets of Sunbeams by Valerie Calmer. I gave it 4 stars, and it was a really sweet romance. And I loved the meet cute. Like there's like those like certain meet cutes where it's like how cute that they met that way. So the way they meet, I don't think it's a spoiler. It happens right in the beginning of the book. But her goat escapes her backyard into her new neighbor's yard and eats his paperwork for some kind of project that he's working on, and that's how they meet. And she's trying to sneak and get the goat before she even meets him because she's like, oh no, what am I going to do? So it was really cute, meet cute. We see a lot of the small town, and it definitely had a lot of Christian value. This is Christian fiction. All the ones I mentioned so far are. So there was a lot of really good faith content in this one. The only thing that stopped me from kind of giving it 5 stars is the main male character was just so adamant that he hated that goat like so much and was like afraid of that goat that it kind of stopped him from having a relationship with the girl who owned the goat. Like throughout the entire book, it's like he didn't want to get close because of the goat. It was kind of funny, but I'm like, seriously, like it's just a goat. So that was kind of funny. Okay, next one that I read, I think it's already released. If not, I will put it on the screen. But I read Goblin Market by Diane Zahler. The way these print are awful. Okay. But I got this from NetGalley and I read it and I was so surprised. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did not think I was going to like it. I don't even think it's like a fairy tale retelling. It's like its own fairy tale. I loved it so much. The only part that I didn't like was why I didn't give it 5 stars was they kind of introduced a like fortune teller, but like they go to her house, but nothing happens. I'm like, okay, why do you even have that character in the book? Like, you don't need it. It did not need it at all. So other than that, it would have been 5 stars for me. So it's about this girl and her sister, and her sister goes to the market every week to sell their fruits and vegetables, where she stays home and she's very afraid. She's really an introvert. She doesn't like to go out into the market. She doesn't like to meet people. But one day her sister comes home and she says she's in love. There's a boy who gave her, I think he gives her a plum. And so she goes to the market every week to meet this boy. And one day she ends up getting really, really sick. Her hair falls out. She is pretty much in a coma on the couch. And her sister knows that it has something to do with the boy that gave her the fruit. And it was just really good. And it's all about how this girl, like, she's so afraid to go to this town, but she loves her sister so much that she goes out on this adventure with a guy friend of hers to try to solve what happened to her sister and what's going on. It was really good. I really enjoyed that one. Okay, so the next one is Monsters in the Mist by Juliana Brandt, and I only gave this one 2 stars. It was quite weird. It was a middle grade, but it was like a middle grade horror book, and it was a little too much horror for me. Like, it had to do with ghosts, and like some parts were really good. I liked the mystery part, but like it got too creepy for me a little bit, and I was like, yeah, so I only gave it 2 stars. So it's about this boy and his mom and sister. They go to this island, and they meet, and their uncle sent them a letter saying, hey, stay with me on this island. So they go, and then they find out about some kind of, like, I think it's called the harvest or something that's going to happen at the end of December, I think. And something's going to happen where they're not able to leave the island. Something is wanting them to stay on the island forever. So he's trying to save his mom and his sister and trying to get them off the island. So I like the premise and I like the storyline, but it got a little too creepy for me. So only gave it 2 stars. Okay, so next one was Cress by Marissa Mayer. This is the 3rd book in the Lunar Chronicles. I gave it 5 stars. It was my favorite of the series. So this one is about Cress. Obviously, her name is Crescent Moon. That's her full name. But she was born on Lunar, which is the moon. If you've never read the Lunar Chronicles, even if you don't like sci-fi, try them out. They're a lot of fun. It might be one of my favorite series of all time. I really enjoy them. But this was my favorite of the series, and Cress is a Rapunzel retelling. So her guardian puts her on kind of this satellite, I guess. Like, it's a satellite building in space away from Lunar. And she's always wanted to visit Earth, but she's stuck there until her rescuers come, which that's not a spoiler because Rapunzel gets rescued from the towers. So we know that happens. It's not a spoiler. But it's really, really good. It continues throughout the story about there's Cinder, there's Scarlet, which is Little Red Riding Hood, and Cress. And we meet Snow White, I believe, also in the 3rd one, which is called Winter. So really, really good. It was really enjoyable. I loved it. And the next book that I read was Beyond the Tides by Liz Johnson. And this was my Christian Book Club's pick for this month, which I read early. Yay! So I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I really did enjoy this book a lot. It is a contemporary. I'm not a huge contemporary fan, but I'm finding out that I'm liking them more and more as I read them. It's about a girl who she finds out her father wants to sell their lobster trap business. And he wants to sell it to kind of her arch enemy in school that was like the bully that ruined something, that ruined a school project of hers in high school. And supposedly pretty much ruined the rest of her life. So she wants to stop that, even though she knows nothing about the lobster business. She doesn't even want the business, but she's like, you can't do this, Dad. This is our legacy. So I want to see if I can do it. And so they kind of have like a competition to see who's going to get the lobster business by the end of the story. So there is a trigger warning for this book, just so you know. When you go into it, there is a parent who is very sick. So trigger warning, if you're uncomfortable with that, then I would skip this book. But other than that, it was really, really good. I like the romance aspect of it. We do get to see their kind of friendship grow, and thankfully, you know, forgiveness did happen fairly quickly in the book, I feel like. Some books are like, you know, they don't ask for forgiveness until the last page pretty much. But this one, you get to see their friendship grow. You get to see there's cute little funny moments in the book that were really cute. And yeah, it was a cute read. I like that one. All right, next one that I read was Under the Magnolias by T.I. Lowe. And this was a book pick for actually my secular book club. And I don't think they knew it was Christian fiction, but it's pretty nice to see that actually be picked in a secular book club on Facebook. So that was really awesome to be able to see that. So I read it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good, but it is very, very heartbreaking and very hard book. So I'm going to say the trigger warnings right now, just to get them out of the way for you all in case you want to skip this part. So there is depression, suicide attempts, a death of a parent, and I don't think there's a death of a child, but almost a death of a child. So I think those are all the trigger warnings. I think that's all of them. So I'm telling you ahead of time just in case you want to skip this part. Okay, anyways, so yeah, it is pretty heartbreaking. We talk about Austin. I remember her name. So Austin, once her mom passes away, she ends up trying to pretty much take care of the whole family, even her father, who's a pastor. And her father is very, very depressed. He gets very depressed, and he pretty much can't take care of himself or any of the family. So she kind of becomes the mom and the dad figure. And she falls in love with kind of the rich boy in the town. I think he's the mayor's son. Am I wrong about that? Anyways, he's kind of the rich boy. And at first, I did not like the boy character because, like, he kind of treats her like, oh, I'm in love with you, but I don't want to show you to anybody. Like, I want to kind of hide the fact that I'm in love with you because, oh, we're from two different sides of the track. But he did change his tune really quickly, which I was happy about. And his parents were so nice. I loved his parents. And, you know, just that both of them kind of had a role to play in their own families where they kind of felt stuck in their roles. Like, he was going to take over, like, the family business or stay in that area. She had to take care of her family. But sooner or later, I think they both realized that they needed their own lives. And the boy actually kind of shows her that you need to go your own way and find out what you need to do for yourself. And I really liked their story, and by the end it was really great. And I loved especially at the end, there was a lot of faith content at the end of the book that really shone through, and I really liked that part. Yeah, so I'm trying not to say anything that is spoilery, so hopefully I explained that well enough for you. Okay, next book that I read was Potiphar's Wife by Misu Andrews. I gave this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. So close to 5 stars. So close. It was still a favorite of the month, but so close to 5 stars. But I think it was just a little bit too slow in the beginning, but that goes for almost all of Misu Andrews' books. They're really, really good. They have great character development, like so good. She is great at that. But a lot of the times, the first couple chapters are really hard to get into because they're slower paced. She's kind of building the lay of the land, building the characters up. And so that's kind of the reason why I kind of gave it like a half star off, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. So this is about Potiphar's wife, who I'm just going to call her Zuli because that's her nickname in the book. Because I remember that. Zulika. That's the whole name. Okay, so it's about Zuli, who marries Potiphar, and she is the one who pretty much seduces Joseph and tells him, you know, come into my bedroom, and he denies her and runs away, but leaves his coat or his cloth back with her, and she screams that he attacked her even though he didn't. So that really doesn't even happen until like the very end of the book, like, because we kind of see where Zuli came from, how she married Potiphar, what got her. She honestly, the way Misu portrays her, she portrays her as such a broken woman. Like, she comes from Crete and she just wants to go back home. Like, that's her main goal. Like, she was meant to marry Pharaoh, and now she's married Potiphar, so she feels like it's a step down because she was a princess in Crete, and all she wants to do is go home. Like, she can't see the love that Potiphar is showing her. Like, he doesn't want to get married at first, but after a while, it's like, I loved Potiphar's character. Misu does such a great job he's such a strong, brave, like, kind of like a knight, pretty much, for back then. But he has such a strong heart for her, and he loves her, even though she makes so many mistakes. Like, I loved his character so much, and I didn't think I was going to, so... But yeah, she pretty much ignores the fact that Potiphar really, truly does love her, and yeah, it was a pretty heartbreaking book too, but it was really good. I loved it so much. Okay, next one. I read the last book in the Lunar Chronicles, which was Winter. I actually finished this in like 2 days. Like, I started out on like Thursday or Friday and ended at Monday, but I didn't read like over the weekend, I don't think. But anyways, long audiobook, a 24-hour audiobook. I listened to double the speed because I'm like, I can't do it that. It was so long. Anyway, so this is actually my lowest rated book out of the I wanted to say Chronicles of Narnia. The Lunar Chronicles. This is my lowest rated one out of all of them. I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was still good, but it was a lot slower paced, and there was a little bit of quite strong violence at the end of the book that I was not expecting. I was like, okay, a little bit strong, especially for the other books. And I felt it to be too long. Like, I felt like it was one of those books where, like, okay, you could fit an 800-page book in probably like a 400 to 500-page book max. So I felt like there was a lot going on, but I did enjoy it. It had a good closure to it. I felt like I would have liked to have seen a little bit more after the ending and how it all unfolded, and like I would have liked to have seen how the characters were living their lives after. They kind of just like Marissa kind of just spotted on that, but it was still really good. I enjoyed the whole series. I actually got rid of my copies because I only have 3 out of the 4, and I want the box set, so I was like, I'm gonna unhaul because I really did enjoy it, and I'd like to get like the whole set that matches and everything. Okay, 2 more to go. I did forget to talk about my DNFs, but I think I'll do that at the end. Okay, next one was The Secret Life of Sarah Hollenbeck by Bethany Turner, and I gave this one 3 stars. It was good. It was okay, but I felt like the main character was a little bit scatterbrained for me, although I should honestly, because I'm scatterbrained myself, but she was a little bit scatterbrained, but I like that she had a lot of faith content in the book, and Sarah is a girl who she ends up starting to write romance books, like secular romance books. But then she meets a girl who introduces her to Jesus, and she accepts Jesus into her heart. And she realizes, like, I can't write these anymore. What am I going to do now? And so she does end up finding a way to praise God and figure out how she can create a romance book without the terrible, terrible love scenes in it and still be a really good book. But she ends up meeting a new pastor at the church that she has just gone to. Like, she meets him the first day he's there and the first day she's there, and they meet. And I really liked his character. He's a single dad, but there's one part that I didn't really like. She finally tells him, like, she used to write secular romance. And he kind of takes it pretty hard, like, and it's like he's a pastor, but I'm like, okay, she said used to. Like, she doesn't write those anymore. And I get it because I think she was still getting royalties from those books and stuff because she just accepted Jesus and she was becoming popular and stuff. But it's like, it depends on how strong of a Christian you are, but if that's in your past and you ask Jesus to forgive you and he's helping you through it, that wouldn't be an issue to me. I'd be like, well, thank you for letting me know. I forgive you. God forgives you. Like I would take that like so well. It's like I would be so happy that person was a Christian now and wanted to change your life. And he kind of takes it really hard at first. And I was like just a little taken back by that. So, anyways, besides that, he does support her throughout the end of the book and stuff as people start to find out who she actually is. And she was writing these, and so he does support her through, if church people were gonna be mean to her or what was gonna happen. So anyway, so that was that book. So that's why it was 3 stars. It was good, but felt like some parts could have been a little better explained, I guess. Okay, and last book that I actually read, because we'll talk about the DNFs, was Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. This was a reread for me. I actually gave it 4 stars instead of 5 stars. It wasn't as good as the first time around, although I was still surprised because I don't do a good job at remembering books that I read unless they're like favorites, which that was a favorite. I've read all of her books. One I didn't like, and that one was my favorite. So it's kind of like 4.5 stars. It's really good. Trigger warning, again, for psychological domestic abuse. It's throughout the whole book. That's pretty much the whole storyline. But it's really, really good. The ending, I love the ending of it. And so it's about a girl who, she's married to Jack Angel, and they kind of seem like the perfect couple. They live the perfect life, the perfect dream house. They have friends that see them as the perfect couple. Nothing's wrong with them, but a lot of things are going on behind closed doors. That's what the title is. But yeah, so it's pretty heartbreaking, but it is, sorry, I had an itch. but it is really, really good. It's one of my favorite, like, psychological stories, because, like, she goes through so much, but there's reasons why she's kind of staying in that situation, where you'll find out in the story, and it's really good. I really do like that one. So that was the last book that I read. So DNFs, before I forget. Okay, the first one actually was sold on a Monday. I can't remember who wrote it. Christina McMorris? That doesn't sound right, but I'll put the cover. But I started reading it, but like already in like the first chapter, there was like at least a few swear words. And I was like, no, it's like, if there's like one swear word, I might be able to get past it, but if there's like quite a few or a few, I'm like, nope, unhauling. Although I think it's still on my shelf here, but it will be gone once I find it. Okay, so I unhauled that one due to language, and then the other one was, I mentioned it before, but I forgot. The Last Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Oh, I was so upset because I was gonna give it probably 3 stars. I was enjoying it. It was okay. I enjoyed the kind of mystery behind like the dual timeline. So it's about this woman who, she owns an apothecary back in like the early 1900s, I think, late 1800s, but she kind of creates poisons for women who are in bad relationships and stuff to pretty much kill off their husbands. And in nowadays times, there's a girl who finds an old apothecary bottle, and she wants to find out where it came from. So I'm gonna guess it's probably from there. But I got about halfway through, I think, and it was good. It was okay. I was enjoying it, but then it got to the point where the girl, she, back in the past timeline, she ends up wanting to figure out if there is a spell that can get rid of like her old, not necessarily master, but she was a servant in the house, so yeah, master, I guess, but like her master's ghost, because he got killed. And it got weird. Like, I was like, okay, it's getting a little not good. And then she went to like a spell store, or not a spell store, it was like a bookstore, but she found like a black magic spell book, and I was like, okay, bye. So yeah, I DNF'd it at that point. I was like, nope, not happening. Okay, so that was all the books I read. This video is only about a half hour long. I was trying to see, but I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a really great reading month. I had a ton of 4 and 5 stars, so that is a very unusual month for me. You can actually see it if you want on my bookshelf. Where is it? Okay, so this was like the beginning of the year, but if you look down here, that was this past month. I had a ton of 4 and 5 stars, which is the purple and the green. So yeah, a really great month. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe down below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.